It's Matt here from Go Green Autos. So I've just got this Smart EQ ForFour in. I've sold plenty of the Smart ForTwos, but never had the four-seater Smart in. So I thought I'd make this video because this electric car has sort of gone under the radar and most people don't know that it exists. What is the ForFour? Well, basically it's a 5-door, 4-seater hatchback. And you could consider it as an alternative to a 22 kilowatt-hour Renault Zoe, and it sits somewhere between a Peugeot Ion or a Mitsubishi i-MiEV and the 22 kilowatt-hour Zoe. In fact, it's based on a shared Renault platform. The Renault Twingo uses the same platform, and this is full of Renault switchgear, and it's got the same multimedia system as a Zoe, and it's built in a factory in Slovenia. The car is smaller than a Zoe, but I will refer to a Zoe quite a lot as a comparison. But certainly it's a lot more practical than a 4.2 Smart. And obviously we've got rear doors, and in there, as you can see, we have got 2 back seats. So it is a little bit small at the back here, certainly more than adequate for children, but actually adults fit fine. And because it's only a 2-seater, you get quite a bit of shoulder room in the middle, so adults can sit at the back here quite comfortably, really. And then these seats fold up, or fold down should I say. You can take that centre console out as well, and you've got a storage area there if you want to slide boxes or anything like that in there. And then you can fold these seats down. You have to keep that seat up because there is quite a step up here to the back, because these are actually rear wheel drive, so all the drivetrain is below the boot on the back axle, but the floor of the boot and that seat is then flat, so it does give you quite a bit of cargo space if you take the parcel shelf out. And then the boot on these, it obviously isn't as big as a Zoe because the car's smaller than a Zoe, but it's big enough to put your weekly shopping bags in the back. There's no storage underneath because obviously your electric motor and electric powertrain is below the boot. But yeah, decent sized boot. Obviously the seats fold flat, you can whip this parcel shelf out. The one thing I do like is the storage bag you get for the cables from Smart. It's clipped up at the top, and it's got some Velcro at the bottom, so it's fixed to the side of the boot, and it's not zipped. And that's actually a great idea because it allows you to pull a cable out properly, and you're more likely to use it. And it just keeps your cables, you can fit both cables in there, it just keeps your cables flat against the side of the boot, so you're not using up boot space. Whereas if you had the conventional zip bags, you tend to take the cable out, but it's too much of a faff to put it back in, so you don't use it, so you just chuck the cables on the boot floor. Whereas this holder is a much better idea. I'd like to see that replicated in other electric vehicles. And this is a 10-metre granny cable here, so there's more than enough room to put both cables. And this is a 3-phase charging cable, so a much thicker one, but as I said, plenty of room to fit them all in there. These Smarts have a 17.6 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, so that is quite a small battery compared to modern electric cars. The battery pack is the same size on the 4.2, but they still have their place. These have an official range of 93 to 96 miles, but of course it's extremely difficult to achieve the official range on with normal driving on the road. So in reality these have a range of about 70 miles typically, somewhere between 50 miles at worst in the winter if you're using the heating and it's cold of course, and up to a maximum of about 80 miles if you drive efficiently. But of course in the UK the average mileage is 12,000 miles a year, which works out about 30 to 35 miles a day, and most of us do less than that. So these cars still very much have their place, particularly if you can charge at home and charge overnight when you're not using the car. Then it's more than enough range for most people to do that local commute, take the kids to school, do the shopping, that sort of thing. So it's a city runaround car or a second car. The charging is at the back here behind this flap, and just like a Renault Zoe it is AC charging only. So they come with 2 types of charger, a 7 kilowatt or a 22 kilowatt, and the easiest way to tell what one it is whether you've got the additional pins at the bottom, because on a type 2 charger the pins along the middle are your live, neutral and earth, and that's single phase, 7 kilowatt 32 amp. If a car has got a 3-phase charger where it can take either 11 or 22 kilowatt, then it's going to have the additional pins at the bottom for the extra phases. And this car is a 22 kilowatt version, and any 2019 model year cars onwards are all 22 kilowatts anyway. Previous models, 2018 or before, there are 7 kilowatt as standard, or they had an optional upgrade to turn them into 22 kilowatts. So charging speeds, if you're on a 7 kilowatt charger, they're going to charge at about 21 miles an hour. If you've got the 22 kilowatt version and you can find a public 22 kilowatt charger, which of course there aren't too many of those, then they're going to charge at 65 miles an hour. So these are rear wheel drive, as I said. The wheels are right in the corners of the car as well. As you can see, there's almost no overhang front and back. So it does maximise passenger space, and it does feel quite airy in there. It doesn't feel a small car at all when you're driving it. But because the drivetrain is at the back, it's just steering at the front. So this has got a very good turning circle. It turns in 9 metres. It does feel very tight, and you can spin around in road or do that sort of quick turn around if you're going the wrong way. It's very easy to park as well. But the ride is quite hard. It is quite a firm ride. Don't want to sound too negative there, because that's not a problem. A lot of modern cars are, but this is quite a firm, sporty setup, and it does crash a bit on the front suspension when you hit potholes. But on the other side, it does make it quite an enjoyable car to drive, and it is, being electric, of course, it's very nippy, and it is quite a fun place to be. And because it has higher quality interior trim than a Zoe, of course I'm going to compare this to a Zoe a lot, it just does feel a nicer place to be than a Zoe, mainly because you've got a very thick, chunky, sporty steering wheel. They come with this synthetic leather interior, so it's really brought the quality up. And you've also got a panoramic roof. So on the outside it's a full glass roof in 2 sections, covering the whole span of the roof. So front and back you've got a glass roof with these sliding blinds, so it does all make it feel very large and airy inside, and it's just a really nice place to be in. As standard, you get heated seats at the front, but this particular car has also got the optional winter pack, and what that gives you is a heated steering wheel. The whole wheel isn't heated, it's just heated from this section round to there, but of course that's where you put your hands anyway, and that feels really nice in the winter. You also get heated rear seats, and they put the switch in the door there, and you can always tell when it's got the heated seats because you have this wire here running up into the seat pad. And then as part of that winter pack, which costs £500 on a new car, you also get additional insulation in the car, which helps to retain that heat in the winter. So this car also has a radar here down at the front. So you've got the cutout here in the lower grille, and you've got the radar unit down there, and that's for the automatic autonomous emergency braking. And this has also got a automatic recuperation system, and what that's doing is reading the road ahead and working out your regen. However, I find that the regen is quite light, and I find that automatic system doesn't work too well. Well, not for my liking, because I'm used to stronger regen. So personally, when I'm driving the car, I put it into eco mode, and that turns off that automatic system and then just gives you maximum regen, and I find that more useful. But there's no adjustment on the regen, so all you can do is feather the brake pedal. But certainly on eco mode it does feel like it's slowing down a bit more, and it just means you've got maximum regen all the time, which I prefer. I'll just start it up. You get a conventional ignition key with these, but as you can see, the infotainment system is identical to a 22 kilowatt or 40 kilowatt hour Renault Zoe, with just a different colour scheme. So we've got DAB radio here, we've got telephone, Bluetooth, we've got our energy flow meter, which so we can see energy coming out and in of the battery on regen. We've got our eco score, slightly different graphics to what you get on a Zoe, and obviously our sat nav. This also has Android Auto as well, but it doesn't have Apple CarPlay. We've got speed limiter and cruise control up here on the steering wheel. Our buttons there to control all of that. We've got our audio controls and our telephone controls, and then these controls change the screens up there on the dash, on the Speedo. This one has just got our trip computer and our mileage. This car's only done 2,300 miles. And then we can use this button to toggle through various screens. Here we have a digital speedo, and of course we've got our analog speedo around the outside. We can go into settings, and I'll quickly whiz through those. We can change our display. We've got our radar assist recuperation, active brake assist, tyre pressure monitoring, and then our language, so there aren't too many settings. We then got the servicing. We then got our battery pack showing 86% charged, and then we've got our preheat, cool and charge settings, and we've got our preconditioning settings in there. And then we've got our energy flow gauges, so we can see how much is being used by the heating system when we've got that on. There's our usage graphs, and there's the eco score, which is replicating that screen there. Basically exactly the same as the Zoe. It tells you when you've been speeding too much or braking too heavily, and you get a percentage score out of 100. And then there's our two trip computers. So very simple display. And then up here with this pod we've got our power usage, so we can see energy being used or when we're regenning. And then that's our battery pack, our fuel tank. The rest of it standard Renault switchgear, as are the buttons in the doors and the door handles, straight from a Renault Zoe there, but a more quality metal finish on them. Very nice air vents, hazard light and locking switch straight out of a Renault Kangoo or Modus or other cars like that. The heater system is quite a nice retro looking heater control. I'm not sure actually whether these have got a heat pump or resistive heater. There's nothing in the brochure to tell you which it has got, and of course there's very little information around on these cars, hence why I'm making this video. But the whole interior just feels a bit more premium than a Zoe. You've got this fabric here up on the dash and on the door cards. You've got a lot of hard plastic trim inside the car, just like you do with a lot of modern cars. But compared to a 22 or 40 kilowatt hour Zoe, there's less sharp edges, and it just feels more premium, particularly with the faux leather seats. It's just a much nicer place to be in. But of course the 50 kilowatt hour Zoe, they've really upped the quality of the interior. But of course this is a slightly older car and it's not competing against that. You get reversing sensors on the back, and on the Prime Premium models you do get a camera in the middle of the badge there. And then on the near side here you do have this, what I think is a vent panel, because obviously your drivetrain is on the back axle there below the boot floor. And when I was charging this yesterday, there are cooling fans, so it's a thermally managed battery. And when I unplugged from the 7 kilowatt charger, the fans did stay on for another 15 minutes or so. And I'm assuming this is all part of the ventilation system to cool that drivetrain at the back. Bonnet is plastic on these, and like the ForFour, it's not a conventional opening bonnet. What you do is you pull these two tags there, which releases the front. You then pull it down a bit, and then it just hangs on these two fabric straps there. And underneath here we have got the 12 volt battery. It's actually quite a decent sized 12 volt battery, electric car. It doesn't really need to be that big. It's a 510 amp battery, which is bigger than you'd get in a Leaf, Zoe or an EMV 200 van. Here's your coolant. Obviously we've got a radiator at the front because the drivetrain's at the back, so all the cooling's going to be at the front. Water bottle, windscreen washer bottle, brake reservoir, electric motor for your wipers. Headlights are here, lots of reasonable amount of access there to replace the bulbs on both sides, which is nice to see, because even cars with bigger bonnets, sometimes these are a nightmare to get to. And then down there we've got our powered steering motor, I can see, and braking system. I assume that's braking and not air conditioning. Yeah, braking system. But as I said, really sharp turning circle on these. They're quite fun to drive. Getting this bonnet back on is a bit difficult one-handed, because you've got to get all four clips lined up, and I'm not going to do it with the camera in my hand, I don't think. No, I need two hands. There, that's got it all lined up, and then when you push it down, that will all click into place. You get LED daytime running lights, a nice hexagon effect there at the bottom of the headlight. The Prime Premium model gets fog lights as well. But yeah, I think a nice looking car. So the bonnet, the bumper and the front wings are all plastic, so quite a bit of flex in them, which will help with minor parking knocks. And your wheels are 15-inch, so you've got 165/65 R15 tyres. The rear windows on these don't roll down into the door, they're hinged windows, a bit like you used to get in cars of the 70s when I was young. But anyway, a lot of people don't like that, but to be honest, if anything like me, you would never let the children open the rear windows anyway, because you get that booming effect. So that wouldn't worry me at all. Also get these slots in both the seats to plug in accessories. I believe there is a tablet holder, so it allows your kids to watch something on their iPad. In the centre console here we've got 12-volt cigarette lighter socket, USB, that's for plugging in a phone to use Android Auto, or plugging in a USB stick to listen to MP3 music, audio input, and this is your SD card for the multimedia system. Two cup holders at the front, and this is actually a coin slot holder just to put two coins in. We've got a little tray there to put a pen in, and there's a little hidden compartment underneath there you could hide money or wallet or your mobile phone in. So we've got a storage net down there as well. The glove box on this is pretty much useless, just like it is on many right-hand drive cars, and that's because we end up with a fuse box in there. When they do the conversion to right-hand drive, they don't bother moving the fuse box to the other side of the car, and in this case the fuse box has taken up way more than half the glove box, so it's only just big enough to put my hand in that corner. The other thing is your puncture repair kit and everything is hidden behind this panel here, so I've already removed the two screws at the top which hold it down, but this panel, which obviously your passenger's feet rest on, hides the compressor pump, the gunk and your tow eye, and that's to obviously repair any punctures. And around on this side we've got a switch there to turn off the pedestrian warning system, and we've got another switch there to turn off the rear parking sensors. And then our keys, we've got a folding remote key there with nice silver buttons, quite a quality looking key, but then the spare key is a typical Renault key, fixed blade, non-folding. They've also got a nice presence at the front. I love the look at the front of the car. It's quite sporty, looks quite wide. It's a nice looking car. These also have a 3-year warranty on the car and a 5-year 62,500 mile warranty on the battery pack, and you also get 3 years roadside assistance with these as well. So if you're looking for a local short distance runaround EV that's a little bit smaller and easier to park, then this might be a good car to look at. Certainly a lot better than an Ion or C0, and for your money I think particularly if range wasn't an issue, for your money I think a better option than a 22 kilowatt hour Zoe. But of course there aren't many of these around, quite hard to come by, but you get quite a lot of car for your money considering the battery is owned. So you've got to compare it with a battery owned Zoe, and they are the same sort of money, but you will get a car that's much newer on the smarts. But of course you do have that slightly smaller battery pack, but if range isn't an issue, then I do think this is probably a better car. So I hope you found that video useful. If you have liked it, please do click that thumbs up button on YouTube, because that really does help other people find the channel. And have a look at the back catalogue of videos. There's hundreds of videos on the channel all about EVs. And if you want to see more, then please subscribe and click the little bell icon and you'll be notified when I upload a new video.